So in this part, we are going to add a second foundation system. This is the one created in the last portion of the tutorial. If I go to level 1, or actually let's go to level 0, you'll see those foundation walls are in place. The next one we're going to add is between grid lines 4 and 6. And the only difference with this one is that instead of having a full basement, we're going to plan on a crawl space for this. So with the crawl space, let's talk about the first one that we did. So here we have a full basement, concrete slab. This is the line of the earth, the slope, the ground line. And with a crawl space, you basically don't have enough room for someone to walk under there. So with this one, enough space has been provided to have a standard 8-foot ceiling. But in this one, all we're doing is building a foundation wall that gets us deep enough to get below the frost line. And basically the space underneath the first floor is empty. Now, why would you do this versus doing a full basement? There's a number of reasons. Perhaps cost is the most common one, or maybe you only do a full basement in part of the structure, but then other parts just have a crawl space. So this is empty space. Sometimes there's a topping slab that's placed in here. Sometimes it's just, sand and, perhaps some rock that allows for good drainage under there. Generally speaking, you wouldn't heat or cool this crawl space. You would put insulation in the floor. And one important thing you would need to do is make sure that it vents so that you don't get moisture trapped under there. But this is basically what we're going to be doing for the second structure. And as I mentioned, we need to get it deep enough that it's below the frost line. So, this of course will depend where you are in terms of latitude. But for our purposes, we will plan on the bottom of the footing being 3 feet 4 inches above level 0. Okay, so here I am back in the Revit file, and I'm going to go back to structure, wall, and we'll do another 12-inch concrete retaining wall. And again, I'm just going to place it where the default is. I do want it to be placed, the finished face at the exterior. So I'll go ahead and go back to structure, wall, begin clicking on these corners. And I will get that same error message about the placement. And as I had done before, I'm going to go and change those settings. So I'm not seeing anything, but we will change it to be the right height. Okay, so I've gone to my 3D view, and as you can see, the top of these walls has been set to level 0. I want them to be between levels 1 and 0. So I'm going to click on each of them, hold down the Control key, and under the properties, I'll start making some changes. I'm going to go down to the top constraint, move it to level 1. The offset will be the same. We may change this later, but for now, we'll keep it the same as the other one. And then I'm going to go up to the base constraint. Now here is where this one will be different from the wall we just made. It's going to be 3 feet 4 inches above level 0. Okay, so you can see it just popped up, and we can go double check and make sure this looks correct if we go to section 1. Okay, so you can see this is not what I wanted. They're coming up too high, so let's go back. I must have put a positive number for the top. So again, I'll select them, holding down Control. Yeah, I need to add a negative number here and hit apply. Okay, let's go back to the section. And now they have the same relationship of the top of these walls. Okay. Now for my my footings, I think I'll use the default instead of the new one that I made. So these are a little narrower, 30 inches wide. And by the way, haven't really talked about this as part of the Revit project, but the size of these footings really depends on a number of conditions. Basically, you're using these footings to take load that's coming from the wall above and distribute that load to the ground. So it really comes down to the soil conditions. If the soil conditions are not good, you may need to create a wider footing to better distribute those loads. If you have, really good soil, good drainage, the right kind of combination of soil components, whether it be sand or rock or some combination, that would kind of impact this. You could probably go with a smaller one. So again, we're going to add the default size, which was, I think, 36 by 12 to this one right here. So I'm going to go to my 3D view and I'm going to look at it from the bottom, zoom in here a little bit. And when I go to structure and those footings, this is the default one. And I'm going to check and make sure that I did the one that I had made a duplicate of for this one here. So what is that one? Yeah, that one's 30 by 12. This one is the default 36 by 12. Let's take one look at the section. And there we have our footings. Go back to the 3D view. And this is what you should see.